Welcome back to The World Today. In the United States, over 70 Republicans have written a letter to the party's National Committee head, urging him to stop helping Donald Trump's campaign. They say Mr. Trump's divisiveness and incompetence risk drowning the party in November's election. The letter adds that the party should instead focus on protecting vulnerable candidates in elections to the Senate and the House of Representatives. Former members of Congress are among the signatories of the letter. Reacting to the move, Mr. Trump said he was not concerned that the party could cut him off, saying all he has to do is to stop funding the Republican Party. The VOA's Cindy Sane joins us live from Washington, D.C. to tell us more about this. You're welcome to the program, Cindy.
Thank you so much.
Well, one after the other, the Republicans are beginning to disown Donald Trump after choosing him as the party's flag bearer in November's election. Is there really anything that can be done about his candidacy at this point? Can it still be revoked?
Well, that is an excellent question, and it's probably what some Republican Party leaders are asking themselves at this point. But really, if there was going to have been a movement to replace the nominee, the best time to have done that would have been at the convention, which, as we know, is past. So now, more or less, the Republican Party has Donald Trump as its nominee. The only possibility likely would be if he were to step down, if he were to say that he didn't want to be the nominee. And even in that case, it would prove to be very challenging because it would be late to get on the ballot. You know, in America, elections are run by the states. So each states have different rules and deadlines as to when people should get on the ballots. So some were saying that if Donald Trump is planning to withdraw from the race, he should at least do it before September 1st. But at this point, this is just more or less speculation and talk.
So how is the man in the eye of the storm, Donald Trump, reacting to all this controversy? And what effect is it having on his campaign?
Well, as he has so often in the past during this campaign, he has turned to Twitter. And you may be aware that one of the latest things is that Mr. Trump said that President Obama was the founder of ISIS, the Islamic State terrorist group. And the day after, he again was given the opportunity in an interview to distance himself from that, saying, well, you don't mean that literally. And he said, yes, I mean he's the founder of ISIS. Now, Mr. Trump has taken to Twitter to say that that was sarcasm and blaming the media for not understanding that that was a joke, that was sarcasm. So this has people really scratching their heads and saying, you know, what's next?
So, Cindy, are there fears that Mr. Trump's unguided utterances could affect other Republican candidates running for various posts in the forthcoming election?
Yes, the polls are not looking good. National polls, several of them now for 2 weeks, have shown Mr. Trump about 10 points behind his Democratic opponent, Hillary Clinton. And statewide polls are also surprising that even in some states which have voted Republican for decades, like Georgia and South Carolina, it's a very close race, which seems to indicate, at least now, there's a lot of time to go, and we're not sure what could happen, you know, on either side with either candidate, but at least now it does look like the campaign is in such trouble that it could affect, especially maybe the balance of power in the Senate. The House has a very large Republican majority, but the Senate could be on the line.
Well, like you said earlier, you said Donald Trump said President Barack Obama is a founder of ISIS, and I think he also indicted Hillary Clinton too. Now, has the President or Mrs. Clinton reacted to this statement?
Well, interestingly, the President is on his family vacation now at the beach in Martha's Vineyard, and he has not reacted. The White House has not reacted. But Hillary Clinton and her campaign did react, and I saw it on Twitter, and they said, you know, it's difficult to muster outrage as often as these statements are coming out from Mr. Trump. But in this case, she wanted to defend the President and say, of course, that he is not the founder of ISIS.
Now, it's funny, isn't it, Cindy, that all these controversies keep coming up. We talk about it for a while and then it dies down again. We know that he has made an alleged assassination threat to Hillary Clinton, and he has said a host of other things. Shouldn't the FBI be investigating some of these comments?
Well, I actually looked into that, and a lot of people did interpret those comments about Second Amendments or gun rights supporters, being able to do something about Hillary Clinton as a threat. And I spoke to a former Secret Service agent that said really the Secret Service is obligated anytime there is a direct threat or even a perceived threat or a veiled threat, they are obligated to investigate. So it may well be that some of those remarks, I mean, not that Mr. Trump himself would conduct violence, but perhaps that somebody hearing those remarks might take it in a way as being, as being some kind of outside encouragement.
Cindy, thank you so much for joining us on The World Today.
My pleasure.
Colombia and Venezuela have agreed to partially reopen their border almost a year after it was closed. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos and his Venezuelan counterpart Nicolas Maduro announced that the frontier will be opened tomorrow. During the first stage, only pedestrians will be allowed to cross in 5 places along the 2,200-kilometer border. Mr. Maduro ordered the border to be closed in August 2015 after former Colombian paramilitaries attacked a Venezuelan military patrol and wounded 3 soldiers. Many Colombians were expelled and bilateral trade has since fallen. The Philippines Special Envoy to China, Fidel Ramos, says that his country wants to hold formal discussions with China to explore pathways to peace and cooperation after a meeting with former Chinese Deputy Foreign Minister Fu Ying. Mr. Ramos was speaking at the end of a trip to Hong Kong undertaken in an attempt to rekindle ties with China, which has been soured by a maritime dispute in the South China Sea. An arbitration court in The Hague ruled on July the 12th that China had no historic title over the busy waterways and had breached the Philippines' sovereignty rights there. The decision infuriated Beijing, which dismissed the court's authority to rule on the matter.
No, there was no discussion on that particular aspect, except to mention equal fishing rights, as mentioned in our press statements, as existed or as per the status quo ante, as existed before the disputes in early 2012. You must understand, I hope, that there is a phase 2 coming up. And as to where this will take place, we don't know yet. We have to go back to Manila to find out what are the latest developments on the official side, inasmuch as there is concurrent activity ongoing at that level.
Here in Nigeria, the government has announced an emergency mass polio vaccination campaign in the northeast of the country after 2 new cases emerged. They were the first incidences of the highly infectious disease in Africa for more than 2 years. The government says polio paralyzed 2 children in Borno State, a part of Nigeria, where Boko Haram militants have hindered health campaigns.
We have announced that 2 cases of wild poliovirus were detected in northern Nigeria, in the state of Borno. This is particularly important and, I would say, a setback to the program, because on 24th of July, Nigeria had actually celebrated 2 years without a wild polio case. This is an area which is not easily accessible, and this is probably why the virus has been able to circulate without being detected and is causing these cases.
Coming up in a moment, Michael Phelps wins the 200 meters medley to become the first swimmer to win 4 consecutive Olympic gold medals in one event. Please stay with us for details.